Hello, I am Mr. Pellerin, and I teach English at Andover High School. And today I wanted to talk to you about the college essay writing process. Um, my goal for today is to hopefully ease some anxiety and get you started on the process by telling you a little bit about why you're writing a college essay, um, or to be more specific, well, what are the colleges really looking for when you write this essay to sort of help you, give you some purpose. Also talk about the process of writing it itself in terms of free writing and editing and sending your writing to your colleges. Also talking about the new prompts that they have for the coming school year, so that you can have a better sense of how to attack the prompts or select a prompt. And we'll also talk about the revision process and things that you need to do when you're coming to the end of this process. All right, so let us just begin with in a sense, well, what are we looking for with this essay? Well, the readers of this essay want to know a little something about you. At this point, they have students from all over the country, all over the world, applying to these colleges and universities. They can see grades, they can see numbers, they don't see a person. What's really great about this is that this is, even though it can be a scary and daunting experience, it's also an opportunity for you to take control of the process. Like, this is about you, and this is about what you want to share with the colleges and universities. So you get to control this. Also, the seventh selection of the 7 prompts is write about whatever you like. So if you start writing about a prompt and you go off on something else, or if you have a completely, if you even come out of the gate with an idea that you'd like to do, you're more than welcome to do so, because, since they do have a prompt that says you can write about anything, that's the truth. It is good to look at the prompts, though, and to get a sense of what they're looking for with the prompts themselves, and you can maybe even tweak it to something that you'd like to do. And the other thing to think about is that it's a process. You're not going to just write this thing out in an hour and be done. In my 25 years of teaching experience, that's not the way these are done. Generally, you're going to write something, and there's gonna have to be parts that get thrown away. There's gonna have to be revisions. There may be a need to throw an essay all the way out and start over. But whenever you're doing those things, it's all part of the process. You would not have come up with your second or third draft without those first drafts. So it's important not to think of it as wasted time. It's important to think that this is a process and that you're writing about you, which is not an easy thing to do. Okay? All right. So let's begin by thinking about the prompts themselves. And so the first prompt is: some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So quite often when students select this one, it has a great deal to do with, for example, if you, moved around the country or around the world a lot. If you're here at a school and you just moved from another country 2 years ago and learned English just recently, if, for example, someone at home has a very rare disease and, your home life is really centered around going to hospitals, if there's something that's going on outside of school that impacted you in a serious way, it is good to write about it, because it also gives them a little bit of context to the grades and the work that you're doing, and it shows you what kind of person you are too, especially if you, have a great deal on your shoulders in your personal life. It's good for them to know how you've persevered and made it to this point. It may also be that you have a particular interest. For example, let's say you're into ballet, and it's not something that's going to show up on your transcripts or in your school. It's something you do outside of school, and it's so much about you. Again, something for you to write about. It can be even like a hobby or an interest in model trains, or a particular, sport that, again, isn't handled at school. Again, anything that, would not be present in your package that you would like them to know about, it's a good idea to do so. Okay. 2, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? One of the things the College Board is always looking for is that kind of perseverance, the idea of your character, that you can work really hard and overcome things. So again, if there are experiences where you can show this, and again, you can also see how these questions kind of overlap. Like, it may be something that is part of your background or something that you need to share. But that also was a challenge. You may have had setbacks. It's also good, if there was something, particular going on in your life that, for your sophomore year made, your grades or your life not look good on paper, this can be your opportunity to explain why. Again, you don't want it to be making excuses. Again, you want it to be more about, showing a fuller picture of yourself. Okay. It can also be something that if it's, faced a challenge or a setback, it could also be something then that you're talking about in a positive manner and how you learned from it, how you persevered, etc. Number 3, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea, what prompted your thinking, and what was the outcome. Certainly in your high school years, this is the time when you're learning new things, new ideas, and you're having these major epiphanies. I would argue at no other time in your life you're going to have so many, as you're trying to develop a sense of self and sort of develop your own identity as an adult. And so this would be a good place to perhaps discuss some of these, especially if it had such a major impact on your life in terms of your beliefs and your ideas. It could be, connected to politics. It could be connected to religion, beliefs, but it could also just be about, your way of life. Again, be careful. Remember that you are, trying to sell yourself to a particular school or university, but the key is always to be as authentic and as, real as possible. 4, reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way, and how has this gratitude affected or motivated you? This is particularly a new prompt. Some of these prompts are, I've seen before and they're kind of tweaked, but this one is completely new. And certainly, with going through the COVID-19 experience, as an individual in a country and in the world, it's interesting to me that, this is a time for reflection about what, we can be thankful for amidst all of the horrible things that are going on and may have happened to you and your family during this time. What are the things that we can kind of sit back and be thankful for? And again, this is something the College Board would like to see. This is the kind of character, that we may like to see in a person, that they can, look at, some of the positive things in their lives, even if things, can be challenging. Because again, when you're looking at a college and a university, they also want to see, is this person going to be active? Is this person going to be a part of our community? And these are the kinds of, attributes that make a good student. Okay. 5, discuss an accomplishment, an event, or a realization that sparked a period of personal growth, new understanding of yourself and others. So again, this can be a time where you're writing about, for example, if you were in the show choir and, this one particular year, you were integral to them, winning, at one of the competitions, or again with sports. It can also be, were you, again, something that might not be in the transcript, something like were you on the math team, or the robotics team, and there was something that you won. Or again, is it something completely not connected to school that was a wonderful event? Or it can be just a realization or something, connected with family or friends and things that you came to this really great realization and understanding about yourself. It could have been some drama that happened with family, and now you're understanding how things work, and you feel like you've made it's been like a major milestone in your thinking. Okay, again, you're presenting yourself here. And also, on that note about being personal, which we'll talk about a bit later, remember it is okay to be personal, but you don't have to be writing about something that upsets you in any way. There's no expectation that you're going to be, spilling your guts on this thing. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you may not intend for it to happen. A lot of emotions come up when you start writing about yourself, and it's okay. Happens very often. People just, start writing about these things. They all come out. All these feelings come out. You get to talk to me, talk to your teacher, and then maybe put it aside, and now you're able to get that out now that you're able to start writing your essay, okay? And again, perfectly normal and perfectly okay. Number 6, describe a topic, idea, or concept you find engaging, that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? Or what or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? So again, this is talking about a particular passion. And again, you're seeing there's a lot of overlap here. If, it's one thing to be on, for example, a sports team or to have a hobby, but I mean, if it is something that, this is your passion and this is what you want to do, then it's something for you to think about writing. On the other hand, something to think about too is, for example, let's say that you're, most of your transcript, it's a lot of science and math. You've been very successful. You're applying to a science and math school. You want to major in something connected to the math and sciences. Maybe this is a place to write about something other than that, because it will offer you an opportunity to show, how well-rounded you are. Okay, so something to be thinking about. And finally, number 7 is to share an essay on a topic of your choice, and it can be one that you've already written or one that responds to a different prompt or one of your own design. And so again, there's a lot of room for you to write about yourself and find a way to write about yourself in a meaningful way. Okay. Also, there's the requirements are that it's a 650 word limit. You must have at least 250 words. Students can upload the essay and cut and paste it, onto whatever website is available to you. Basic format of the text, is fine. You don't have to worry about that until you just paste it in, and then you can do some further editing there. Those are the basics. And there are some schools that are going to require you to write something very specific for them, and that's something else to be thinking about. So if there are particular schools that you're thinking about, please look into it now to see if they're looking for their own specific prompt and, need you to write something else. Yeah, and it may be that you're going to write 2 essays, or it may be you're going to use that one for that school and it will also apply to the others, and that's fine, and you can tweak it. But again, good for you to be in control of the process and know what you need to do, and not for it to be, October 31st and it's due November 1st and you find out they have their own prompt. Okay. So again, if you have that idea of what you want to be doing, please, make sure that you do that work. Okay. Now I'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking about the writing process itself, and some key considerations to be thinking about. Number 1, you got to think about free writing, is that you're going to write off the top of your head. You're going to just let this thing flow, and you're going to let it go. When this happens, you may find that you're going to write pages and pages of things. If it's something that you can't even write about, then that might be coming back to the drawing board and picking a different prompt. These are all things that, you should be thinking about. Again, you're not going to start writing it and think, this is my intro, here are my body paragraphs, I'm done. It's going to be more of having drafts, pages, and then going in and going, okay, so these first 2 paragraphs, I was just thinking out loud. The 3rd paragraph is what I'm talking about. Okay, now I can create a brand new intro. That's what I'm talking about, okay? And what is important when you're writing is to show and not tell. Okay, meaning that don't tell us a story, you want to show us, you want to give us some, verbs and adjectives, paint a picture, think about it in a very poetic way. It doesn't mean to kind of go over the top and use language you wouldn't use, but it does mean that you want to be specific. You don't want to write, for example, about playing baseball and I really like baseball, I like hitting the ball, everyone does that. Is there a specific game that you played? Tell us about your position, tell us about what you've done, or, specific is the word. Specific. Show, do not tell. And again, when you're writing your first draft, it may be a lot of tell, and then once you hold the story and you understand how you want to frame it, then you can go back in and rewrite it and think about the imagery and the specifics to make it a story. But when we get to it, you want to be concise. And so again, that's why the free writing is important, because then you're going to think about how you're going to put this back together. You're going to think about, the value of words, because it can only be between 250 and 650 words anyway. You don't want to be worrying about the word count and how long it is or short it is until you're closer to its realization. You don't want to worry about that in the beginning necessarily, but that is something to be aware of. You want to be personal, but not too personal. Okay, so you don't want it to remember that this is a faceless person looking at you and they don't see you in front of you. So, be aware that you're communicating through writing. And, if it's also something very negative, perhaps you don't want it to be a negative piece. Again, you may be the kind of person, I've had students say this to me before, I tend to be kind of, pessimistic and I'm kind of dark, and it's like, yeah, I mean all those things are fine, but you can also do it in such a way that they're seeing the best side of you with that. Is your humor there? Is your your intelligence, your intellect, those are the things that you can bring up to the forefront. Okay. And also, you don't know who this person is, so you also don't want them to be made uncomfortable, and you don't want that to be working against you in the process, okay? And things that when you do get into the revising, thinking about spelling and grammar and authenticity, all of these things matter. And so it is very important towards the end that you are making sure that you reread this, you revise it, you at least have one or two other people that you trust reading it over. Very important. But the key word there is authenticity. You want to be an authentic person. Don't be fake. I mean, like if you're writing about an experience and you say, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life, and it isn't, don't do that. It'll be hollow. It'll if it's hollow, it'll clank and they can hear it. Okay, so just be you. They're also aware that you're 17, 18, 19 years old, what have you, and how much have you really experienced by now. So it doesn't have to be this major, life-changing event that's only happened to two people in the world. It's okay that it's happened to you and you're explaining who you are. Use humor if you're funny, you can use some of your sarcasm if that's you. Okay, so again, that's all part of being authentic. But again, just remembering, remember that you want to be, a bit formal as well, and just make sure that that you're talking to someone that you don't know yet, and so be aware of those things. Don't use exclamation marks everywhere and put things in bold and make it look like it's a post. Okay, you do want a level of formality here as well, and to show that you're a professional and that you're writing something very serious. If it is something serious, it's going to stand out. You don't need to put exclamation points everywhere. Okay, but the big part is revisions, and so especially in the age of the Google Doc, make sure you're saving things as separate documents, so that way when you make big changes, you will have the different versions, because sometimes you may make some big changes and you're like, I liked that other version better. Or for example, you may have a different school, has a different criteria, and you can use the longer version. All those things are things to be thinking about. So, when you revise, think about it in big chunks of revisions and label them. Okay, and if you are through with a revision, that version's completely done, get rid of it so you don't also have 15 versions of it and it starts to get, sort of muddled. But the big piece that I sort of want to leave you with here is that you want to relax, okay? Everyone that's in the college and university process goes through this, and you will be okay. There were a lot of teachers and guidance counselors and people like me that you can come and see and get help. If obviously you're in Andover High School and you're watching this, then obviously I am here in room 201, and I'm available for all of the H blocks. If you want to sign up with me, even if I don't know you personally, I'll be more than happy to help you with any stage of it, if it's sort of brainstorming for one of the ideas, or it is, looking at a draft to see where we go into the next stage. One of the things you do have to understand is that, your teachers are not going to, write this for you. You're not going to just write a draft and go, here it is, edit this for me. This is yours. And, the kind of feedback that, most teachers will be giving you is, we're going to give you some, I see this and I've noticed that. Okay. And that's what I noticed when I read it. Is that what you wanted me to notice? Those are the kinds of conversations we'll have. Or I'll say, when I look at this, I do see a lot of sentences that begin with I did. It's all over the page. You may want to think about, mixing up the sentences a little bit here and working on your style. And I might take a sentence or two and show you how to do that. And then it will be on you to do those revisions. Okay? Also, I think a good rule of thumb for your teachers and and people is that, I'll look at it once, I'll look at it twice, and then it's on you to finish this thing. Some students, again, because you're nervous, you're going to just keep sending it to people forever. There's a certain point where, the draft is here, you wrote it, it's done, and now, it's time to send it, or now it's time for you to revise it, and it's time for you to put it away, okay? But again, the whole thing is that this is an essay, you're writing about you, and it's a process, okay? And you are fully in control of that process, and it can sound like it's a big, scary thing, but it really is something that every student I have ever encountered is able to write something that is the best essay for them and for you, okay? I hope that you found this information helpful, and I wish you the best of luck in this process. Take care.